why I think Deus Ex Remaster might save the Deus Ex franchise as a whole. It was announced only a few hours ago in PlayStation State of Play that Deus Ex, the first one that came out in like 2001, 2002, is getting a remaster. This game only really featured on PC. It did come out on PlayStation 2, I think, in 2002. It must have been PlayStation. There's no way that ran on the first PlayStation. And that's when I played it for the first time at a sleepover. My last sleepover would have been more than 20 years ago. That's how old I am. So, yeah, but what does this mean for the franchise as a whole? Well, first off, I do want to get something off the bat, is that this is not a PlayStation exclusive. It's also coming out on PC and Xbox. But there's a few, like Game Rant wrote it down as a PlayStation exclusive. So I actually started making a full video on why this is a mistake. Then realizing it's out on everything, so I didn't realize why. The Deus Ex franchise is owned by Eidos Montreal, which is a subsidiary of the Embracer Group, who you may remember from the people that cancelled the Perfect Dark reboot by Crystal Dynamics. They own them and closed that down. I don't think that was close to a game being made. There was a Deus Ex game being made a few years ago that was then, due to restructuring, was cancelled and closed down. But it looks like Eidos Montreal is starting to get out the bandwagon again for interest of like, hey, should we make another one of these games? The last Deus Ex that came out in 2014, was a bit rough. They kind of, I just remember the launch being very money hungry, and it was clear that Square Enix at the time, before it got sold off to the Embracer Group, really put a lot of their chips into Deus Ex Mankind, into being like a Deus Ex universe. And then the second game on the back of that, man, there was microtransactions. I remember there was like a pre-order bonus, but it was like this weird like Kickstarter kind of setup where like if it hit certain bonuses at certain milestones, you got more things. There was microtransactions in a single player game. It was like everything that was bad about gaming was in this thing. Like, if season passes existed back then, this game would have had a season pass as well as a single player. And then they just kind of split the game into two, which is odd, and just kind of left it in the middle of the story. So then everyone had to go back and definitely buy the second one that was going to come out. And then that game didn't end up coming out because the first one didn't do as well, because it was reviewed poorly, because of all of what I pretty much just said. It wasn't reviewed poorly, like, it was still a goodish game. And it was a good sequel to Mankind, but the problem is that it was, it was just a bit underdeveloped, and it was very greedy from the developers in itself to just have a pretty poor ending. So I just think, like, it just didn't really have the longevity of the other Deus Ex games. So I think a remaster here would just light a bit of a fire under the franchise again and get a bit of interest, especially if it does well. And I think this game will do well. This game is noted as one of the best video games to come out. If you've ever seen a top 100 list of video games, Deus Ex, the first one, lives up to that. It's always into the top 10, like roughly into those setups, if not top 20. And it's such a good game. I never played it all the way through. Like I said, I played it once at a sleepover, and we probably did like 6 hours worth collectively on this game. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was such a good sim. For me, it was crazy to have a game where you could play it the way that you wanted to play it. And back then, I know that like nowadays there's a little bit more of that as options. You know, Prey, you got Fallouts, you got a few other different games out there. But back then, this didn't exist. And the developer just kind of went well above and beyond. But like, if you do go back and play it, I think it's like 97 cents on Steam if you wanted to get the non-remastered version. It is looking a bit old, like it is looking a bit 2001, 2002, 20 years have passed. So usually I'm a little bit anti-remasters just because, you know, come up with something new. This, and especially it's priced pretty well. I think it's priced at $30, so, you know, it's not really going to kill your wallet or anything. But I'm just hoping that this brings back the franchise as a whole. There's some interest here from people. This game does well-ish, and instead of going, well, let's remaster the other Deus Exes, which definitely weren't as critically acclaimed. Like, I mean, the last two were pretty good. It's just, I mean, Mankind was quite good as a game, but the other one just not so much. It kind of missed the mark a little bit. And I just think... And Deus Ex, the sequel to the original Deus Ex was smaller because it was made for Xbox, where the first one was made for PC. So I'm kind of excited for this, and I just think like this franchise does things, especially the first one. Like, there was a lot of social commentary, and the way it was written, which unfortunately didn't really lead into the other ones when Square Enix took it over, it was a story pretty much revolving around like conspiracy theories that we have now, but what if they were real? And they made like it a very realistic approach to some wild things being real in a universe, and I really enjoyed that story. And I've listened to a lot of things and watched people play the game, so I know a fair bit about the story, and I just really enjoy that kind of commentary, just as something pretty different. And there was a lot of love and a lot of effort that went into that game. So I'm very happy it's got a remaster, and I'm just hoping, like, this franchise has so much potential that has kind of been on the cutting room floor for me. Like, there's just a lot here that can come back, and I just think, like, there's some gaming IPs we should just let die. Like, Perfect Dark is a prime example of, if you actually play that game, the first one, the story, which I've done recently, I played it all the way through, it's actually pretty insane. It's actually wild. The story, it's pretty incoherent. Like, I enjoyed the game. It was revolutionary at the time. But, like, you're a spy and then you end up in space. Like, it changes quickly from, like, its origins of, like, James Bond. And then the Zero one just didn't land. And I just think, like, the time has passed on Perfect Dark. There's other franchises, there's other things that you can do that might be a little bit similar, but we just don't need that name and branding. Deus Ex, but I think really has so much potential as a universe, or at least as a story IP, in the way that they did those things. So I'm kind of hoping this works out, and then, like I said, Eidos Montreal is starting to shop this game around now. So for a new one, they're not too involved in the Deus Ex remaster. It's by the same mob that did the Knights of the Old Republic on the Switch, which is very good, by the way. I'd recommend for the Switch. So, you know, they have a good background of making these things, and they've worked together on the old Tomb Raiders as well. They did the first 3 Tomb Raiders as well as the remaster. So I think it's going to be a really good remaster. It's something different, and it gets it in the hands of a lot of people that probably wouldn't have played the game before, especially if you're console only. Like I said, you can get the original on PC for like 97 cents, but if you want the reskin, it'll go down that route. But there's just so much potential in this universe, especially if you play that first game. You'll just be like, oh man, this could have been something. And what I would really like is a game that is a direct sequel to that game, to the first one. Like, let's just abandon what has happened. I don't think we need a revival of the 2017 game. Too much time has passed. So I think just a redo into this world, let's get into here and make a really good game. But I'm hoping that this remaster that's been announced will sort of light a fire under this franchise and get it off the ground again. Embracer Group is now starting to sort of change their mindset. Like, Eidos Montreal haven't made a game in 4 years since the Guardians of the Galaxy game that they worked on. They also did that Avengers game. Remember that piece of shit? But yeah, so they clearly were working on things. They got restructured. They've had to let go of a fair few staff. Same with like Crystal Dynamics and a fair few other studios. So I'm really hoping here that there's a lot of there's some momentum here. They might even be working something on the background already, but it's weird that a studio hasn't released a game in 4 years or even been announced to be working on a game. So I'm hoping this remaster is a cheap way to get people into it, almost like free advertising, and then there's a Deus Ex game coming in like 2027. That would be amazing. But it mightn't be the case. This might be like the test trial of like, is there a market for even this industry? It won't be too much money to do this reskin. We've got these guys that can do it quite well, and then we'll sort of see if we can re-kick off this game. But I'm hoping it gets a bit of traction, and we're getting back with a new Deus Ex game, because I've always enjoyed the commentary. I've enjoyed like the Sims style of this sort of play, that you can kind of play it the way that you want. Just, yeah, the last one, man, it got so greedy, and I'm just hoping that, like, if the gaming industry has taught us anything outside of this free-to-play games, which is, yeah, that's just greed and branding, and it's capitalism at its best. If you make a good game, people will buy it, and that's been the tale that has been told for decades. If you make a good game, it doesn't matter what your budget is, it doesn't matter what developer you are, it doesn't matter what type of game it is. If it's a good game, people will buy it. And if you put some love and you put some effort into it, and you don't worry too much about marketing and making sure that, you know, there's an Imagine Dragons song in the trailer, and your big graphics are at the Sphere. If you don't worry about that side of things and you make a very good game, yes, marketing is important. I have a business background, I understand marketing, but if you just make everything on the marketing side of things and you put all of your money into that, and it's like, this game has this deadline, we can't blow past it, and the vision gets a bit lost or it's very complicated, then you get Mind's Eye. And I just really hope that this series isn't dead and we can get back to there's some relevance into the Deus Ex universe, but I think a hard reset is needed. There's no need to continue the story from 2017. I think everyone's pretty much moved on from that, but I think everyone would like, especially fans of this franchise, would love a new game. So anyway, we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, I'd love a second crack at a sequel to the first Deus Ex. So we get the remaster, and then it's like a second crack at the sequel there, because that first one, the second one really lost its way just because it was so much smaller. It went from being designed to PC to being like designed for the newer, for a very old gen console that just didn't work out for these kind of games, especially with the processing power needed. So yeah, anyway, hopefully Deus Ex is not dead. But that is the whole video. Hit the subscribe button because that really does help us out. Like I said, we do news videos, we do game reviews, but these news videos are more why. We just don't go into like, oh, it's coming out. We just say like, what could this mean for something else? Or why is this happening now? And we just try to give a little bit of opinion. Comment down below, are you keen for the remaster? It's out on everything, by the way. I just wanted to get that message out there that it is out on everything because, well, it wasn't very clear of that, and multiple news places are saying it's exclusive to PlayStation. It is not. So if you did read that and it's like, oh man, I've got an Xbox or a PC, don't worry, you can actually pre-order it on both right now. So yeah, it comes out on the 5th or the 6th of February. I think it depends on what time zone you're in. But yeah, and hit the like button because then it algorithms it to someone else, and then that algorithms it, and then the algorithm keeps algorithming it and it sends it to other people. I think it really does help out with the algorithm, because as you may know, a lot of other YouTubers are complaining about the algorithm. I've said algorithm too many times. So anyway, I'm going to edit this up, cut this up, and get on out of here. My name is Brenton. This is Redline Live. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye.